What if I told you that the woman cooking over an open fire, stitching torn clothes in a dusty room, silently bearing insult after insult from her husband, was actually a princess in disguise? This is not just a tale, it's a lesson wrapped in secrecy, pain, love, betrayal, and unimaginable truth. In this story, we journey through the humble village of Okit, where the poor are overlooked and the quiet are silenced. But beneath the rags of a humble tailor's wife hides a secret so powerful it could shake a kingdom. Stay with me as we unravel the mystery of Adana the wife, the tailor, the hidden princess, and discover how the man who broke her spirit unknowingly sealed his own fate. This is a story you will never forget. Let us begin. In the small, dusty village of Okit, where the rooster's crow marked time and the villagers whispered their truths in shadows, lived a woman named Adana. She wasn't born in Okit, nor did anyone really know where she came from. New was that one day she arrived carrying only a bundle of cloth, a small sewing machine, and the kind of silence that wrapped around her like a veil. She rented a small mud brick room behind the old market square and began to sew for the villagers. From the school uniforms of children to the wedding gowns of young brides, Adana's fingers stitched stories into every fabric. She was kind, too kind, and that kindness was often mistaken for weakness. She married a man named Ez, a tall, broad-shouldered local who once charmed her with poetic words and promises of love and laughter. In the beginning, he was sweet, gentle, helpful. But as days turned into months and months into years, the Ez that once picked wildflowers for her now slammed doors and cursed her name. You and your sewing, always sewing. What do you even earn from it? He would bellow, returning home drunk from the palm wine bar. Adana would lower her gaze, serving him his meal in silence, even if he knocked the plate to the floor moments. Later, the villagers watched. Some pitied her. Others turned their faces away, unwilling to interfere. She should leave him, some whispered. But she has nowhere else to go, others replied. Still, she stayed. Day after day, she stitched clothes by moonlight, her fingers calloused and aching, while her heart remained quiet like a well holding back a flood. Ez would often spend her sewing money on alcohol. And if she protested, even with just a look, she'd wake up the next day with bruises she covered with long sleeves. One rainy night, Ez returned home to find her sewing. The firewood had gone out, and Adana sat in the dim light of a candle, mending an old man's robe. "You're still sewing," he growled. "Do you think that nonsense will feed this house?" He slapped the candle to the ground, plunging the room into darkness. And then, the silence. Not even a scream came from Adana. Just silence. That night, as the rain beat against the thatch roof, Adana stared into the darkness, whispering to herself not in sorrow, but in something deeper. Something colder. Something ... royal. One day, she said quietly, "You'll learn the worth of what you threw away." But Ez didn't hear. And even if he had, he wouldn't have understood. For you see, Ez believed he had married a nobody. Just a poor tailor's daughter. Just a woman who had nowhere else to go. But nothing could be further from the truth. Many years before Adana stepped foot in Okit, a kingdom far beyond the hills, past the forests and winding rivers, flourished under the rule of King Oba the Just. The kingdom of Omuahia was known not just for its wealth and power, but for its wisdom. Its people were artists, scholars, warriors, and farmers. And at the heart of it all was the king's most treasured jewel, his daughter, Princess Adana. Princess Adana was unlike most royal daughters. She did not fancy gold chains or peacock feathers. She preferred the company of old storytellers and village women who wove fabric in silence. From a young age, Adana would sneak out of the palace to walk the narrow paths of the commoners, barefoot and unnoticed. She wanted to learn how ordinary people lived, how they loved, how they suffered. One day, during a council meeting, King Oba announced, "Adana, it is time you choose a husband. A noble, a prince, a warrior fit to rule." But Adana looked around the hall filled with men in jewels and armor and felt nothing. "Father," she said softly, "how can I marry? Someone who loves my title, but not my soul." The king, wise and patient, sighed. "Then what do you seek, my daughter?" Her answer was simple. "Let me live among the people, as one of them. Let me find someone who sees me, not the crown on my head." King Oba hesitated, but he trusted her heart. And so, with the blessing of the queen and a few trusted royal guards, Adana disappeared from the kingdom, not as a runaway, but as a silent seeker of truth. She shed her jewels, her gowns, and her royal name. With only a sewing machine and a bag of clothes, she became Adana the tailor. The village of Okit was small enough to hide in, yet big enough to live in. It was there she met Ez. Back then, Ez was a young man who worked on the village roads. He was poor, yes, but charming. He would help Adana carry firewood, compliment her food, and praise her skill with the sewing needle. He brought her palm wine during festivals and even gave her a carved wooden bird on their third meeting. "You remind me of this bird," he said. "It's quiet, graceful, and full of secrets." She smiled. "Maybe one day I'll fly away too," she replied, half joking. They courted under the moonlight. And soon, they married in a small ceremony, no fanfare, no dowries, no dancing warriors. She never told him who she was, not because she feared rejection, but because she wanted to be loved for her essence, not her lineage. For a time, she was happy, truly happy. She cooked, she sewed, she danced barefoot in the rain. Seemed gentle, respectful, even proud of her work. But slowly, the darkness inside him began to show. His friends laughed behind his back, mocking him for marrying a village tailor. "You could have married Amma, the merchant's daughter," they'd say. "At least she has land." Ez began to drink. And with every sip, a piece of his former self faded away. He started insulting Adana in front of others. "A woman who sews should not talk too much," he would say in the market. He once dragged her by the wrist just because she served him dinner late. Adana endured it all, not because she was weak, but because she wanted to believe love could be stronger than pride, that Ez could change. But one night, after a particularly cruel beating, she looked at herself in the mirror, her bruised eye, her torn wrapper, her trembling lips, and whispered, "Maybe, it is time to return." Back in the kingdom of Amuhaya, her disappearance was still a mystery. The queen wept at night. The king left her room untouched. But as fate would have it, a sign appeared, an ancient festival dream known only to royal blood. In the king's sleep, he saw Adana seated at a broken sewing machine, her crown hidden beneath ashes. He awoke and summoned the royal priest, who confirmed the dream. "Your daughter lives. She suffers among the lowly, but her soul still shines." The king sent out riders, guards, and searchers, disguised as travelers, hunters, and traders. "Bring her home," he said, "but do not reveal yourselves until the time is right. Let her show herself. Let her rise on her own." And so, the winds of destiny began to shift. As the sun rose once more over Okit, Adana stepped outside her hut, unaware that her past was riding toward her, that her truth was about to unfold, and that the man who called her worthless would soon beg on his knees for mercy. The sun still rose over Okit, but for Adana, the days had become darker even when the sky was clear. Ez's cruelty deepened with each passing week. The man who once gently tucked flowers behind her ear now shoved her aside like furniture. The whispers in the village turned into open stares. Everyone saw what was happening, but no one dared interfere. Some feared Ez's rage. Others believed it was just a domestic matter. But one woman, a widow named Mama Enkechi, often left warm food by Adana's doorstep. No words, just silent kindness. Adana continued to sew. Her fingers, once soft from royalty, were now rough with calluses. She no longer smiled. Her eyes seemed to carry something ancient and heavy, like a queen mourning in silence. Then came the night that changed everything. Ez came home furious. He had lost a small gambling bet and blamed Adana for being his bad luck. "You bring shame. You bring curses. I should have married someone useful," he spat. He tore the curtain from their only window and smashed her sewing table. When she bent down to pick up her broken scissors, he raised his hand. But this time, she caught his wrist. For the first time, she looked him dead in the eye. Her voice was calm, not angry, not desperate, just ... calm. "You strike a queen. Tonight, Ez, be very sure." Ez scoffed. "Queen, you? You're just a tailor's daughter." She let go of his wrist and turned her back. "So you believe?" she whispered. That night, Ez slept in a drunken haze, unaware that eyes were watching from the shadows. 3 men in brown cloaks had stood beyond the trees, witnessing everything. They were not villagers. They were royal guards sent from Amuahaya. They had found her. One of them, Obina, clenched his fists. "We must act. We must bring her home. Now." But the eldest among them, Uch, said, "No. She must choose the moment. That is the king's command." So they waited. Days turned to weeks. Ez grew more paranoid. He noticed strange faces in the market. He heard villagers speaking of a search for a lost royal. "Are they looking for you?" He sneered at Adana. "What? Are you some kind of spy now?" She said nothing. Her silence angered him more than her words ever could. Then came the festival of Ancestors, a day when every village honored their dead with dances, offerings, and storytelling. Ez insisted Adana stay home. "You don't deserve to walk among people," he said. But when he returned home later that evening, she was gone. In the center of the festival grounds, villagers circled a fire as the Gryatha village storyteller spoke of lost royalty and hidden truths. Suddenly, a woman stepped forward. She was dressed simply, like all the others, but her posture, gaze commanded silence. "I have a story," she said. Her voice, calm but strong, echoed like drums through the square. And she began to speak not just of pain, but of lineage, of palaces, of the choice to walk away from gold for the sake of truth. The villagers listened, stunned, as her story unfolded. As she removed her headscarf, the Gryat stepped back in awe. "Princess," he whispered. The guards emerged from the crowd. One knelt before her, presenting the royal seal of King Oba. Gasps rippled through the villagers like thunder. Adana stood still, regal, even in rags. "I came here to learn what life is without privilege. I found strength. I found pain. And I found truth, ... even if it hurt." Just then, Ez stumbled into the square, furious, confused, shouting, "What lies are you telling now, woman?" But when he saw the royal guards bowing to her, his words caught in his throat. "No, no. This must be some trick," he mumbled. Dana turned slowly to face him. "It's no trick, Ez. I am Adana of Amuhaya, daughter of King Oba, first of my name, and the woman you have spent years dishonoring." Silence. Then, from the crowd, Mama Enkechi stepped forward and bowed low. "Your Highness," she said, her voice trembling. The entire village followed, one by one. even the children, except for Ez. He dropped to his knees, more from shock than humility. "Adana, my wife, ... I didn't know." She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "You didn't have to know who I was to treat me with respect. And that ... is the tragedy." She walked past him without another word, and the crowd parted for her like the sea before a queen. The morning after the festival, the village of Okit woke with a heaviness in the air. Word had spread like wildfire. The quiet tailor, the woman they saw every day bent over a sewing machine, was royalty. Some wept in guilt. Others stared in disbelief. And as he sat in front of their small hut, hands buried in the dust, rocking back and forth like a man who had lost everything, because he had. Adana did not return to the hut. She was escorted by the royal guards to Maman and Ketchi's compound, where she was given fresh garments and food for the first time in years. The villagers came in waves, some bringing apologies, some bringing gifts. But she accepted only one thing: silence. That afternoon, a golden chariot arrived in the village, bore the royal crest of Amwahia, and in it sat King Abba himself. When he stepped down, the people of Okit dropped to their knees. The king's eyes scanned the crowd until they found her, his daughter, standing tall in common clothes, but with a gaze that burned like the sun. "My child," he said, his voice breaking, "forgive me for letting you walk this hard road alone." Adana ran to him and fell into his arms. That moment, captured in the eyes of the villagers, was one none would forget. But the king was not there only for reunion. He was there for justice. He turned to the people and said, "A king does not rule only palaces, but also pain. And today, justice shall speak." Ez was dragged forward by the guards. His face was swollen with regret, his eyes hollow with fear. "I didn't know," he stammered. "I didn't know she was." "You didn't need to know," King Oba interrupted. "A man's true character is how he treats those he thinks are beneath him." Adana stood to the side, her expression unreadable. "You were given the greatest gift a man could receive," the king continued. "Not a princess, but a woman, of dignity, strength, and love. And you repaid her with bruises and shame." The villagers murmured in agreement. Some looked away, too ashamed to meet Adana's eyes. What should be done to a man like this? The king asked. There was silence, till Adana raised her hand. "I will speak." All eyes turned to her. "I do not wish for him to be jailed, nor executed, nor whipped," she began. "That would be too easy." She walked toward Ez slowly. "Let him walk the earth as he is. Let him see what it feels like to be rejected. Let him be denied honor in every village and kingdom. Let every door close to him as he once slammed doors in my face." Then she looked him dead in the eye, and let him never forget that he once had a queen for a wife. The king nodded. "From this day forward, Ez of Okit is banished from all lands under the rule of Emuahaya. No one shall give him shelter. No one shall give him work. Let him wander until he learns the true weight of what he lost." Ez dropped to his knees, sobbing, but not even his tears could break the wall of dignity Adana now wore. The villagers didn't argue. They understood. Some even felt relief. That night, as Ez was escorted to the border and cast into the wildlands beyond, Adana was dressed in a new robe red and gold, woven with symbols of her tribe. The old griot, standing beneath the moon, declared, "Let the name of Adana be remembered not just as a princess, but as a warrior who conquered with silence." As the royal chariot rolled away from Okit, Adana looked back one final time, not with anger, not even with sorrow, just peace. For she had come, seen, suffered, and risen. And in her silence, she had taught a kingdom more than any crown ever could. The royal chariot returned to Umuahia with Adana seated in honor beside her father. Trumpets blared. The people flooded the palace gates, throwing flower petals, dancing, and singing ancient songs of welcome. Yet, in the midst of all the joy, Adana's face remained calm like the stillness of a river that had seen many storms. When she entered the palace for the first time in years, the walls seemed smaller, the air heavier. The royal staff bowed low. Her chambers, untouched all this time, welcomed her like an old friend. But Adana did not change into royal garments immediately. Instead, she walked barefoot to the royal temple, offered silent thanks to the ancestors, and wept not for herself, but for all the women like her. That night, a secret council was called in the palace. The king, the queen, the royal scribes, and a few trusted officials sat as Adana stood before them. Time in the village has opened my eyes, she said. Many women live as I did, without protection, without voice, without justice. The king nodded. Then speak, daughter. What would you have us do? And then came the twist. From beneath her wrapper, Adana pulled out a small, worn leather book. I documented everything, she said. Every insult, every beating, every kindness, every face that turned away, and every hand that helped. The scribes leaned forward in shock. You wrote, ... everything. The queen asked. Yes, Adana said. I kept this not to expose shame, but to build a path forward. This is not just my story. It's the story of many. The king reached for the book, gently flipping through pages marked with trembling ink, dried tears, and hand-drawn sketches. It was more than a diary. It was a testimony, a record, a map to reform. Let this be read across the kingdom. The king declared, let schools teach it. Let our sons learn from it. Let our daughters know they are not alone. With royal decree, Adana's book became known as the Hidden Crown. It was distributed to every province and village. But she didn't stop there. She founded a grand institution in Umuahia Sanctuary for abused women, abandoned widows, orphaned girls, and struggling tailors. She named it the House of Healing. Women from far and wide came to learn, live, and rise. She also opened a sewing school because for her, the needle was more than a tool. It was a symbol of quiet power, of patience, of creation. And as the years passed, Adana was no longer just Princess Adana. She became known as Adana, the Restorer. Meanwhile, far across the land, Ez wandered like a shadow begging, hungry, forgotten. Some recognized him, others spat at his feet. Once, he tried to return to Okit, but the village had changed. A statue of Adana now stood at the marketplace sewing needle in one hand, a crown in the other. The inscription read, she wore no crown, yet ruled with grace. She raised no voice, yet thundered with truth. She fought no war, yet won the greatest battle, her dignity. Ez read those words in silence. K***. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.